So could you tell me your name and what your home of record was when you went to Vietnam?
My name is Robert Springer. I was called Stallion, and my home of record was Evansville, Indiana.
And were you drafted or regular Army?
I enlisted.
How old were you when you came in country?
19.
And what was your DEROS date?
My DEROS date was 7 December 70.
All right. Were you assigned to Echo Recon immediately?
No. I was with Alpha Company 1st to the 5th for 2 weeks. When they came up and said they needed 2 volunteers for Echo Recon and pointed at me and Mother, Terry, and said, you and you.
Can you tell me about your job in Recon?
When Mother and I got to Recon, Kazi, the squad leader, he just come walking up. He said, I need a point man and an RTO. And boy, Mother didn't miss a beat. He said, I'll take the radio. I was sitting there thinking about it, you know, duh. And so he just handed me a compass and he said, here, this is a new tool of your trade. And so I walked back up for about a week or so. And then I took over point, walked point for 5 months.
So point sounds like it should be an obvious thing, but what does that really mean for you?
Point man is the first one. You got a line of guys, you walk point, you're the first one. You walk out a little bit ahead of everybody else, but you do have a backup man. Okay. And it's sometimes nerve-wracking.
I would think so. You just mentioned, I think, your first squad leader. Could you tell us again who your first squad leader was? And
Bob Kazi.
all right. And what do you remember about Kazi?
He was always on my case.
Tell me some more about that.
Well, as a point man, every morning, the LT squad leaders get together and figure out the other point on where you're supposed to be that day on the map. Then you orientate your compass and make a line in whatever degree that is on the compass. That's called an azimuth. And what you would do is walk and try to follow that azimuth as much as you could. And as you'll be told, I'm sure, by others, one of the lieutenants that we had couldn't read a map. He was an officer and he couldn't read a map, and it was always point man's fault if we weren't where we were supposed to be. And Kazi would take his side, but anywho, Kazi didn't want to walk point. I asked him several times, you know, hey, you want to come up here and do this? No. But you know, the one thing that a point man does not want to hear is somebody whispering, pick up the pace. No, man, you try walking through that. No.
You must have had to basically blaze a lot of trails.
Yeah, sometimes if triple canopy jungle aerial photography showed a trail going in and then disappearing, how do you find out where the trail goes? Send in recon.
Uh-huh.
And we really didn't, I didn't mind walking the trail because it was a lot easier. Busting brush was grueling. But on a trail, I mean, you really have to watch for everything. Mm-hmm. Anything that's not supposed to be there. Even some things that grow there.
I would suspect things where it's their natural habitat, but you don't want to meet them anyway.
Yes, yes. That was their backyard.
Yes, indeed. So, can you tell me what you most remember about your first day or your first week with Echo Recon?
Was walking, my first day, the first week was walking back up, wondering to myself, you know, am I going to be able to do this? I was 19 and I'd already been shot at, so I wasn't as gung-ho as I was when I first got to Vietnam. Once you know, you hear a bullet go by, it's "Mama, come get your baby boy."
They didn't let that happen, though, did they?
No, no.
So who was your first, I'm going to pause here for a moment, dear.
Okay, you want to shut in or just?
No.
Okay.
The question says LT. Is that LT or is that lieutenant?
Lieutenant.
Okay, I just want to confirm.
Yeah.
Who was your first lieutenant and what do you remember about him?
Dennis McBiddy. He was a West Point graduate, squared away man. The best lieutenant I think we ever had, other than Frank Zebak. He was good.
You
And he
felt
would
that-
listen to you. I mean, he wasn't a, hey, I'm the LT, I know it all. You know, you're up there, he wants your opinion.
All right. Do you remember your first contact?
Yes, that was an Alpha company in the first week I was there. And that was the first time I ever heard bullets going by. And it completely changed my perspective. Hey, these guys are serious.
Can you share a little bit more about that situation?
I was an ammo bearer. And I had a can of M60 ammo around my neck and a can of M60 ammo on top of my rucksack. I walked behind the machine gunner and another ammo bearer walked in front of him. And then all of a sudden, all hell just broke loose. And I can remember hitting the ground, getting all the ammo, because that's the first thing, get ammo to the gun. You got to get ammo to the gun. And then it only lasted a couple minutes and it was over. But boy, hearing those rounds go through the vegetation is something you just don't forget. But I didn't see anybody. I heard them, but I didn't see them. And that, and see, I always whined about, for the week or so that I was there, about having to carry all this weight. And they told me every day, they said, quit your bitching. Could be worse. Could be an Echo Recon. I said, what's an Echo Recon? They said, you don't want to know. Then one day they come up and actually handed me the handset to a radio. And all I could hear was gunfire. I went, bah, 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 bah. I said, that's Recon, they're in contact. So, ooh, maybe I better shut up. And then they came up, need 2 volunteers for Echo Recon, you and you. And interestingly enough, in my military 201, my field 201 file, it shows that I volunteered for Echo Recon because it was an all-volunteer unit. No, I didn't. I was volunteered for Recon. But I think that's the best, under the circumstances, that's the best thing that ever happened to me, because these are the guys that, if it's life and death, you want to be with these guys.
Yeah. So did it really feel different, your first contact with Alpha and your first contact when you were with Echo? Is it just bullets and they're all the same? Yeah,
because my first contact with Echo Recon was a, should I just say VC, Goop? What should I say?
Whatever.
Okay,
feels
well,
right.
a Goop walked up on us, and Roxy shot him, but he took off. And I can remember Kazi coming up and looking at me saying, come on, Stallion, we got a blood trail. And since I'm point, then I got to follow the blood trail. And all I could think of is a guy sitting there waiting for me, He knows I'm coming. And found him. He was laying beside a bush. And Kazi had told me, he said, he's still got his AK. And so we got up there, and as soon as I heard him, I emptied my shotgun. And that's, I've always second guessed myself, should, maybe try to get him to surrender or something like that. No, I didn't. And I'll be judged by God for that, I guess.
those are situations we just can't.
Well,
So were you in the Cambodian invasion?
yes, I was.
And can you tell me about those first few days?
Oh. In the Cambodian invasion, that's where we'd wonder where all the gooks been hiding, you know. Hey, we found them. But it was very, very, very stressful. And it was, let me see. I'd been in Cambodia maybe 3-4 weeks or so. But I've been on point for a long time. And I remember I missed a bunker, walked right by it. And Kazi, Stallion, and he pointed, and boy, my heart just, I could have got somebody killed missing that. So I just, a couple days later, I thought, I can't do this anymore. So I re-enlisted and got out of the field.
Wow.
And it was these guys, because for years I was so ashamed of that. But these guys, there's a poem in my book when Bird just looked at me and said, Stallion, you paid your dues. And that was when me, Bird, Doc, and Mother got together in 1997 at a Holiday Inn in St. Louis and started talking about reunions. Been to every one since.
Excellent, excellent. So who is your best friend?
My hooch mate was Len Hammonds. He was our squad's, Kazi squad's 60 gunner. And he's passed on now just recently, but he did make it to the last reunion. And but that's me and him would hooch together.
So tell me about that, hooch together.
Well, that's where you take a poncho, and the one set up out there, yeah, I told him, I said, man, I said a gook could run under that without ducking. They were very, very low. I mean, usually either your belt or almost top of your nose touched it. That's how low you wanted it. And that was usually if, you know, during rainy, just keep the rain off of you. You were going to be wet, didn't matter. But that kept the rain off of you. But you just crawl under there, and that was your hooch. And you laid there, and I slept with my weapon. Everybody did. You better.
So, Robert, is there a particular memory that sticks out most in your mind during your time with the Echo Recon?
We were in Cambodia, and we were ambushing a trail. And it was an automatic ambush. It's a tripwire, claymore mines, detonator, hit the tripwire, and boom. And it was early in the morning, and we were getting ready to saddle up, go collect the ambush, and leave, and the ambush went off. And I had point. So I go out, Kazi was walking behind me, and we had the ambush strung along the trail, and about 30 feet down the trail, there was a bush on the side that kind of branched out, and you had to kind of go around it. And when I went around that bush, there was a gook on his knees with an AK stuck in my face. And I kept telling myself, I kept waiting for the impact of the rounds. And then, you know, my mind was going, well, you ain't dead yet. Shoot, shoot, shoot. And I had an M16 then, and I was changing magazines. I'd already done it. Got him before he got me, and but I had to look him in the eye. And when I got to him, you know, he just looked up at me. He took his last breath, knowing that I was the one that killed him. And that, you know, and I've learned, these guys, they were doing the same thing I was, just out there trying to stay alive. It was nothing personal. It was just, but still, the guy may, you know, had a family or whatever. And he was wounded. The ambush, that we'd set was set a little bit too low, and it blew his foot almost off. But he still had the presence of mind to sit there and wait. And that stuff nightmares are made out of. And I write poetry, and a lot of them I started writing to deal with the nightmares that I had. And I've done that now for years, and I call them ditties, but you know, they've been well accepted by my brothers.
This is quite a collection. I've read through a couple of them, and they catch you.
Well,
They're very moving and very well written as well. And I wondered if that was an outlet.
oh yes,
For you.
yes. And in Oklahoma, you know, I've been asked to read my poetry. You know, Veterans Day and Memorial Day, go to schools and read for assemblies and stuff like that. And I've always done it because the people seem to, you know, like you say, it caught them because they were silent. They listened to what I was saying, and I can ask you, is it understandable what I write? Because see, when I was in school, I hated poetry. The teacher always saying, well, what did he mean by this? Well, you know, if you want to know what I mean, read it. That's what it means. There is no, it's just,
Nothing hidden. It's
yeah,
just out there.
it's just memories of a bunch of wonderful guys on a year-long party, playing with guns, explosives, which, you know, to me, we used to cook with C4 explosive. You break off a chunk, you carried, you know, pound sticks. You break off a chunk and light it, and it burns really hot, and it's smokeless. But you heat water, everything over it. And I think to myself back, we all carried it, we cooked with it and stuff. If it's in your possession now, you're going to prison. And I never could understand that.
Different time.
Well, as far as me, you want one personal beef, is I cannot get a concealed carry permit because I draw 100% disability from the VA for post-traumatic stress. Therefore, I have been treated for a mental disorder. I'm not fit to carry a gun. That's just a personal thing that bothers me. That's neither here nor there.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for
Well,
sharing your memories with us.
Thank you for what you're doing and for listening. I hope it did okay.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Anything else you want to add that comes to mind?
Just to tell you, you know, whatever, the following people you were about to see, salt of the earth. I do trust them with my life. I have trusted them with my life. And they're, now if your BS meter goes off, that's probably me out there talking. But thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for listening.
It's our pleasure.